Hi, I'm Dick Eydt with Bites by Eydt. We do catering in Atlanta, Georgia, and we travel up and down the East Coast to New York, to Greenwich, Nantucket, down to Florida, and most recently we did an event in Tennessee, Crossville, Tennessee. So today we're continuing with our summer theme, and we're doing a taco bar. We're going to use red snapper, hanger steak, refried beans, and these aren't just regular refried beans. One of my clients is allergic to zinc and said, can you make refried beans without zinc? I didn't know zinc was in refried beans, but when I researched it, some of the nutrients that come in some of the other refried beans are and contain zinc. So I researched it and found kidney beans that don't have zinc, so we'll do that. And we'll make our own fresh salsa, and probably my favorite thing is we'll make our own corn tortilla chips from scratch. Well, not quite from scratch, but we're going to fry them, and they'll be warm and pretty tasty. So let's begin. So first we're going to do the marinade for the hanger steak, and you can let this marinate for a couple of hours, a couple of days. It is a little bit of sweet, a little bit of heat, and a little bit of a little alcohol in there. So we're going to pour beer into a pan. You can also put it into a Ziploc bag, S.C. Johnson Ziploc bags. We'll put a little orange juice in there. So we'll take the jalapenos, and with the jalapenos we have two options. We can either make it with the seeds or without the seeds. Since it's a marinade, I would say let's do it with the seeds to give it that much more flavor. Again, when you're doing this with the seeds and using jalapenos, make sure after touching it you immediately wash your hands. You don't touch your nose, you don't touch your eyes, you don't touch anything else. So we'll do a little dice to it, and I'm going to keep the seeds in there and also the ribs in there, so there'll be some good flavor. The last part we're going to do is garlic, but before I do anything else I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, again with the garlic, I'm just going to smash it. I'm not going to take out the pith because we're not going to be using this. We're not going to be eating it, but we just want the flavor. I'll keep the skin on and everything intact. It's a rough chop, coarse chop, doesn't have to be fine. Add that to it, and there we go. Clean as you go. I like the hanger steak. It's an inexpensive cut of meat, and after it has been marinated, it really softens up nicely. It's nice and flavorful. Put the second piece in there. Let's move it up here. Of course, we're going to put a little pepper in there. Now, if you use a Ziploc bag, what's great about that is that all the surface areas are covered with the marinade. Having a bowl like this, we'll just have to flip it a few times, and so everything is covered. And again, you can do this for a couple of hours or a couple of days, and then that will be ready for grilling. Okay, move this off to the side, let this marinate, and that part's good to go. I might top it off a little bit more so I can cover up all of the meat. I like that. Okay, that's good. Okay. Next, we're going to get the oil ready. Corn tortillas, I use corn oil. I'll cook it. You don't want to go over 350, 375 or so. You don't want to burn it, but You want to give it a nice crisp. So how much oil do you put in the pot? Well, you don't want anything more than half filled up with oil, preferably about 40% oil, because once you put in the whatever you're frying, it's going to boil up. So you want to have plenty of room that you don't get the oil overflowing, catching on fire, having grease fire, having all kinds of problems. So we'll let that heat up and we'll continue cooking away. Next, what we'll do is we'll prepare the non-zinc refried beans. For these, I will take out the rib and I will take out the seeds. So use a little knife, cut out the rib and the seeds on both, cut around it, and these should come out quite nicely. I could add this into my marinade. Why not? I will dice these up relatively small so you don't get too much in the beans. You don't want to get zapped with it. Once they roast, they're quite a bit tamer. In previous cooking shows, I've done this with a goat cheese with jalapenos roasted, and they are pretty tame. Let me get these seeds off. Clean as you go. Okay. A little bit of garlic, and again with the garlic I will take the pith out. I think I said that I learned this from my brother, who learned it from Danielle Ballud. So if Danielle can do it, mince this up nicely. We'll have our refried beans ready to go on the stove top. Pour this in. That's good to go. Add in the jalapenos. More jalapenos and garlic. Now, if you find that you don't want too much jalapenos, add half or add a quarter. You can always add more heat later on, but it's hard to take it out. And I'll dice that up. Again with the onions, I cut with the grain. I'll do a relatively thin dice on it. Not too thick, but not super fine. And then I'll come across on it on the bottom once, and in the top once. And then when I come down, it's a nice, relatively medium cut on the onion. There's no crying. I'm cutting through a minimal amount of the onion so it won't tear up. I'm going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil just because I like it. I'll add a little bit of chili powder. I like chipotle. Again, the smokiness has good flavor to it, which I like. You could use regular chili powder. You could not use chili powder. And I also use ground cumin. It really adds another nice layer of flavoring to it. Okay, let's get this on. Stir it around at medium heat. It'll take about 15-20 minutes. Clean as we go. We'll start and we'll make the corn tortillas. So I'll cut these into, these are smaller size corn tortillas, which I like. They're easy to work with. And I'll cut them into 6 pieces. So it's a nice size tortilla when it comes out. Not too big. And we'll start with a small batch and we'll work our way up from there. So I have all my mise en place all set up. I have my slotted spoon, I have my corn tortilla, I have my thermometer, and I'll weight this. It's right now up to 230 degrees. So another 100 degrees and I'll start doing a test. Okay, I'm gonna move the board over so I'll have everything next to each other. Let's give the beans another stir. Now again, with the beans, we can always add some more heat to it. If you want to add some Tabasco, we can add the Tabasco to it. So I always like to have other accoutrement. We're going to make a fresh salsa. We're also going to do a little corn. And I'll roast this. And this time I'll probably add some red onion to it. Extra virgin olive oil. Some nice salt. I probably won't add any heat to this, just because we have a lot of things that have heat. So I don't want to overpower anyone, and not everyone likes all the heat. So we have to be careful with that. A little extra virgin olive oil there. We're done with the orange juice. We're done with the hanger steak tray. Put that away. This is getting up to heat. Okay. We can add the corn to it. The corn will take, 5 to 7 minutes to char up. A little salt and pepper. And there we go. Put this back on the heat. Give this a stir. The aroma is quite nice. I will turn down the heat. I think I might add a little water to it. Put this back on. Let's check the temperature. We're up to 300 degrees. So we're getting close to it. We'll try one and see how it goes. So it's starting to sizzle quite nicely. Once you put a fair amount of the corn tortilla chips, the oil temperature will come down. So you don't want to put too many in at a time, but you want to put enough in that they will start to cook. I'd like it about 325 or so. I don't want it any more than 375. You could go up to, you don't want to be close to 400. Okay, we're going to give this a stir again. Starting to come along nicely. Same with the corn. You can hear it starting to sizzle. Starting to get a little charred on there. It's just tomato, jalapenos, and some Bermuda onions. That's what I like to do. I like it dry because the tacos are messy. And if it's a wet salsa, stuff just goes all over the place. And so I'd rather have the tomatoes in the tacos, not on your lap. Could you use the heirloom tomatoes? You could, but really for this, these are the, you can use the Roma tomatoes, which work fine. They're very cost efficient. And again, it's just a little bit of a garnish to it. And when I'm doing this work, I'm always listening to the sizzle of the tortilla chips, of the refried beans. You never want to walk away from the stovetop. And when you have a little bit of downtime, you can multitask. And I like the multitask. Let's go back and take a look. The temperature is 335 or so. So that's pretty good. The beans are starting to come along nicely. You can see it's starting to get some of that beautiful brown coloring. Keep that going. The corn starting to pop and char nicely. That'll be a few more minutes. I'm going to turn down the heat on this to about a medium low. Here's the first corn tortilla chip that came out. And you can see the color. The coloring is quite nice, cooked all the way through. Now that it's up to temperature, I'll start making a larger batch. Again, I won't put too many in there. I'll put one stack, put it in with my tongs, move it around. One of the chefs that works for me, he says, Dick, whenever you're using oil, you always want to move it around. Move the property around so it gets all that surface area. I think these guys are good to go. I'll take this off and put it down, and then go back to the stovetop. But that looks nicely. It's a good smell to it. We're at 355, so this is about ideal where we want to be. I want some color to it, but I don't want them overcooked and too brown. Use our basket here to pull it out. Place it on down, and we're good there. Okay. I'm going to put 2 batches in there. I'm going to stir it around, move it around so they don't stick together. They cook evenly. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. We're about 370, 375. So that's good enough for cooking. I turned down the heat on the refried beans. And these guys are almost ready. So you can see the nice coloring on it. One more. Put a second batch in, and then I'll put a third batch, and just constantly moving it around. That's about the most I would do, which would be half of those tortilla chips. We're finished with this. We can take it out. And you can see that it's rising up a little bit, but I have plenty of room. We don't have to worry about it overflowing and getting a grease fire, and these will be ready lickety-split. Refried beans are coming along nicely. Again, the importance of having a nice thick pan. You can see the coloring of this. Yeah, they're good. I don't like them, you know, when they're mushy and like a paste. I like to have a little bit of a taste to the refried beans. A little bit of a, they're not going to be crunchy, of course, but a little bit of a bite to it. I think that's nice. It's unique. You can see the size of the onions and the jalapenos, so you'll get a nice bite. So I think those are ready to go. I'll take these off the stovetop, put that on the back burner. Drain them pretty well. Drain them on paper towels. And then I'll salt them. Turn that off. This is good. Put a little salt on it. Again, air drop while they're still a little bit oily, so the salt will stick to it. You can always put on more salt, but you don't want to put too much on there. So we have most of our mise en place done. We still have to make the tomato. We'll do the fish and the hanger steak. So let's move this to the back here, and I'm just going to score the fish. Take off, we've already taken off the scales to it and the fins, so it's pretty much ready to go. But I'm going to leave it pretty whole. I think it just looks nice that way. And I'll score it, especially on the ends here, so it cooks evenly through and it's easy to peel off. So I did a nice job on scoring that. I'll score this side, about 2 slices there. And I want to score it so they can peel it off and get bite-sized pieces. Give it some good flavor. It will char up a little bit. I'm going to turn down the heat. And here we go. We'll get a nice char out of that. The hanger steak, we can start to cook this too. Smells nice. I'll flip this over one more time. So I want to get this side charred nicely. A couple more minutes and we'll finish it off. So you can see that we've already gotten the skin cooked maybe a quarter of an inch the way through. It will finish off nicely in the oven. Let me just get this side here for good coloring, good flavor. This is a little bit different of a grill because we have two burners with a grill, so you get the nice markings on it. But all the heat's here. There's very little heat on this side. So we'll just cook it in stages and move it around. But I can smell the orange juice and the beer, so it will have a little bit of a spice to it. It'll have some good flavors, a little bit of heat, and it'll be very tender, so it will work out well. Okay, so we'll do a little cleanup here. Let's get organized. I always like to be organized. We'll transfer the tortilla chips over here. You can see how much the oil has dripped onto the towels there. They should be much cleaner now that we transfer it. Okay, we'll finish cutting up the tomatoes. Make a little salsa fresca. I'll probably do one more tomato. Again, cut these quarter of an inch or so, just so you get a nice taste of the tomatoes when you put it on your tacos. That's too thin. One more. Add this. That's enough. Some red onion. Cut this in half. I'll probably use maybe a quarter of a red onion. It'll add some nice coloring to it, some good flavor. It's a little bit sweeter. I can smell the hanger steak, a little bit more color. A little bit of jalapeno. Won't be much. And again, it won't have any seeds. It won't have the rib on it, so it'll be rather harmless. But it's a fresh. It's not been roasted, so it's going to be a little powerful, even for jalapeno. You just don't know about your clientele, your guests. You know how much heat they want. Someone wants to add some Tabasco sauce or some more jalapenos to it, or habaneros or serranos. They can do it, but once you make it, if it's too spicy for them, we're not good. Let's take a look at the steaks. You can see how nice that looks. Smells good. Another few minutes on this side and we'll be good to go. So we're finished with our onions, jalapenos. Again, we'll clean as we go. We'll add a little cilantro. Chop this up. Not too fine, but not too coarse. Something in the middle. releases the flavor. A little bit more there for color. Take a nice lime. When I pick out my limes, I like them so they're not rough like this. They're smooth. I find that they have more juice. I roll it so I can release the juice, break the membranes, and then when I cut it, like right there, the juice already started to come out. Squeeze the lime in there, give that a stir around, a little bit of salt, and there's our salsa de fresca. Let's take a look at the steaks. Okay. Looks nice. Nice chars, nice sears. It's about medium rare, which is how I like it. If your guests want to cook some more, we can just put it back on there and cook it up some more. And this one's almost ready to go. And we can pull it off. So with the corn, we'll add the corn as a condiment. You know, do you want to put it in the beans? I don't think so. I think it's just another option of people using it as a condiment to make their tacos. Clean as you go. I think the corn looks nice like this as a condiment with the tortilla chips, the refried beans. The steak's almost ready to go. Get the platter out for that. And the last thing we're going to do is the tortilla chips. I'll do the tortilla chips on the grill here. You could do it in a saute pan if you wanted to, but I sort of like doing it so we get the char marks. I like this to rest a little bit. It can rest up to half hour to an hour, and we'll put the tortillas on here. So when you put these on, just do it one at a time. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit, and we just like to get a little coloring on it. Brings out more of the flavor of the corn. We'll do a couple of these, and then we're ready for our taco bar. Let's check on our fish. Yeah, that'll be ready to come out. Here's our first corn tortilla. So you can see how nicely it's been cooked. It's not overcooked. There's nothing worse than having overcooked fish, especially a nice piece like a red snapper. I can help them to carve it off. They can peel it off with a fork. It will be quite nice with the tacos. Let me check my tortillas. Those are coming along nicely. In the meantime, we'll cut up the hanger steak. You can see how we're going with the grain, and it's pretty stringy and tender and juicy. Great color, medium rare. I'll cut a few more pieces and assemble a taco. So we'll have that. Okay. Here we go. So what do you want to put on there? Well, I'd say put a little salsa down. Not too much. Put a little of the refried beans down. Not too much, right? And then we're going to put the meat on there. 2 pieces is enough. We'll do the same with the red snapper. Add a little corn this time to that. Great coloring, great flavor. Refried beans. And then we'll just cut along the bone. Nice piece. of red snapper. A little char. Let's get a third piece. We don't have any bones in there at all. It's clean. This is probably a 2-pound snapper. You'll get about 5 or 6 portions out of it. So here we go. Now I definitely overcooked that tortilla chip. So notice I have a little bit of blood from the hanger steak. I didn't let it sit long enough. Again, it should sit for at least a half an hour. You can wrap it in a kitchen towel and then tent it, and you can 2 hours or so, all the juices will come back in and it won't leak like this. It'll be more flavorful. So just give me a second. Let me clean up and I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, the last thing we'll put on this is we'll take a little fresh lime juice. It goes well on the fish, of course, on the hanger steak, and a little bit of pepper, and a dash of salt. Definitely want to use the helicopter, and we're good to go there. So, homemade tortilla chips with the salsa fresca. Charred corn, red snapper, hanger steak marinated, refried beans without any zinc in them. Makes a great summer dish, light, refreshing, easy to do, and if you have leftovers, it goes great for the next day. I want to thank our sponsors, Calavito extra virgin oil and Little Farms lettuce. Thank you very much. Enjoy the little feast for a bar taco. Thank you.